In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Bryan Frye, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbardis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome, all you lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable, where we watch movies and then talk about them. I'm your host, Dustin Melbardis, and joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Rebecca Davis. Rebecca, has it begun freezing up there?
It's been cold, but it's kind of that weird temperature where right now it feels cold, but in probably a month or two, it's gonna feel delightful.
Right now it feels cold, but this temperature in a month would be the best day of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Right now we have our dawns and our dusks are so pleasant in like the 60s, but it's still 93 in the middle of the day. Still 93 here in Texas. But we're going to make it. We're going to be fine. We get about 3 weeks of good weather, and we're right in the middle of it, so I'm feeling good. Well, I've got one person in the Dakotas. I'm here in the Deep South, but I've got someone new for you, audience, that is coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina. It's our new guest movie fan, Ainsley Caswell. Say hello.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me, Dustin and Rebecca.
How are things out there?
It's actually very pleasant. We are entering fall, finally seeing some cool down. It's very nice.
Easy and breezy. Yeah, it's finally, it's nice and pleasant. What a nice way to set the scene for our movie tonight. A little pleasant, wholesome time of the year. I feel good about this. Well, I've got a couple warm-up questions. Ainsley, I'm going to ask you first. What is a movie you trapped your parents into seeing?
I was growing up in the time of VHS tapes, like you guys, and one of the tapes that I had was The Parent Trap.
Hey.
The original one, not the other one that some of us don't acknowledge. And nothing against Lindsay Lohan. I like Lindsay, but I have to go with the original Parent Trap from 61 every time.
Now, would you say that you are, because it was one of your VHSs that you had sort of available to you?
Yes,
are you
it
in
was.
the dozens of watches as a child?
Yeah, we must. I want to say it's more, but your perception as a kid is always wrong, right?
Yeah. I had 3 VHSs. I had a total of 3.
No.
I had Fern Gully. I had Little Nemo's Adventures in Dreamland. And I had Groundhog Day. So those are my 3 that were on repeat with VHS. Rebecca, I want to hear the answer to this question for you, which is, what was the movie you trapped your parents into watching?
So as a kid, I had a crazy obsession with Barney.
Yeah. He loves
Barney
you.
and Sesame Street. Growing up, I didn't really have TV, surprisingly, as a kid of the 90s. So I didn't watch a ton of movies with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I'm going to go with, it's typically for older teens and adults, but my mom was definitely not into it. It's going to be Zombieland.
That's a great one.
What was there something about the trailer or something that she said, "Oh, no way, I'm not into this"?
That's one that I can remember us watching together, and she was just like, yeah, no.
Sure. Yeah.
I know she didn't like zombies.
Especially in your land of Sesame Street and Barney. But you said, like, hey, you had a crazy obsession with it. No, you didn't. You were just a kid. Sesame Street, just today, I was talking to some people at one of my hotels, and I was talking about, like, when I was a kid, what a dream job would be. And I said that as a young one, I thought, you know what? Working at Sesame Street would be like the best, most wholesome, most fulfilling job I could think of. Whether you're a writer or a puppeteer or even just like a gaffer or a grip on the set, is that you would know there's no like corporate energy above you that's destroying the planet. Instead, you just be working for something great.
They have a very good history, or they have a great reputation. The puppeteers do. They speak as the character constantly, but they might not be in character.
That could be pretty jarring, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. It's very entertaining. High value entertainment there. Can you imagine Elmo on a lunch break?
Well, right. Elmo on a lunch break. Or I actually have always thought that Kermit on the late night shows is a special kind of treat for mom and dad.
Yes.
Because he will make some jokes that are a little blue.
Gonzo by the water cooler.
Gonzo's going to have to talk to HR probably.
Yeah.
The one
that's Sesame Street.
Yeah. Hey, that's Sesame Street. I drug my dad to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie because it was the coolest thing I had seen. Kung Fu as a genre hadn't been introduced to me yet. And I don't remember a single thing about this movie, but I know that my dad would have been zoning out, probably falling asleep.
Yeah, so you guys mentioned two things that my sister loves. My younger sister, when she was growing up, she loved Power Rangers and she loved Barney. And she's 5 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm. So you were a little aged out of the Barney group, I would imagine.
Yeah, but Sesame Street is much more timeless for a huge amount of us. I was born in 84. My sister was born in 89.
It's kind of remarkable to me the staying power that Power Rangers has had. They're still making content. I don't know anything about it, but it's there. Ainsley, what's the last movie that you saw?
I went to go see, does this count? I saw the release of a Showgirl Taylor Swift film in theaters.
Of course it counts. Sure it counts. Well, and I can't imagine a better theater experience than being able to be in a theater that is guaranteed to have other pretty serious fans.
It was a good time because, it was either fans or fans with their kids or kids that were fans.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain that there's nobody else that has quite that same fandom than Taylor Swift. I had a discussion with somebody a couple years ago about who's bigger. I'm like, well, Beyonce, but I don't think it's the same. I think Taylor Swift sort of attracts this eagerness fandom that is something special.
I managed to go to Eras, and I feel very lucky for that because of how scarce the tickets ended up being. I ended up managing to get them at face value too, because I had a friend who had codes for Ticketmaster. And that's and that's very it ended up being like a lightning strike thing. It was so lucky to get access. So I don't go to see a lot of stadium pop shows either. It's a very unique experience to go to a show like that.
Well, that's just it, is that with a new movie release, is that you have there are a ton of people that are moviegoers that are just seeing what's in theaters now. There is no guarantee. And there's no high likelihood that the people that are in this theater are going to be fans of this thing. But that's different if you were to see a Taylor Swift film experience. You know that the people to your left and right, while they weren't your friend group, they're there for the exact same reason you are. And that's something special. That's a theater experience. Rebecca, what's the last movie you saw?
I have been catching up on the 2015 movies appearing for our top 10 of 2015 show. And so I watched Vacation the other night with Robert. It's a kind of a remake, modern day Griswold situation.
Yes.
National Lampoon's Vacation.
Did they do anything that held up? Do you feel like it holds a candle to those classics?
So I've never seen the originals.
Yiko, Micah. Well, hey, no shame. Not on this show. We don't shame people for not seeing.
That's okay. We didn't watch them in my house either.
Yeah, there we go.
That's okay.
There were pieces that I liked, but then there was also some of it where I was like, okay, this is dragging on. That's enough. It was funny the first time. Not 5 times later.
Yeah. Well, hey, sometimes that is the formula. Right. And holding on to a franchise like that to be able to pump out more National Lampoon's blank, blank, blank. I'm sure there's over 30 or 40 of them now. Hey, they're just kind of carrying on a legacy. They don't all need to be slam dunks. For me, We are here in a couple weeks going to be hosting an outdoor viewing of Hocus Pocus on the lawn by the riverside of
That sounds fun.
one of my
Very
spaces.
cool.
And we were talking about what movie to do, and I like Hocus Pocus, so I wasn't going to try to influence the decision. But we had recently watched some movies, and one of them had a Danny Elfman score that was a real dud. This was not for this show, but I had watched a 1997 movie with a Danny Elfman score that just was not inspired. So I had to go back to one that was, and that was The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yes, absolutely.
This season, this movie, it's confusing when you watch it. When do you watch The Nightmare Before Christmas? Before Christmas or before Halloween?
It's a year-long movie, duh.
Okay. See, that's a good answer.
It had a dual release.
It makes sense.
Did you know?
I didn't know that.
The more you know.
Yeah. A Sesame Street learning corner for us tonight. Well, hey, Rebecca, what movie are we covering tonight?
We are covering The Parent Trap from 1961.
That's right, starring Haley Mills, Maureen O'Hara, and Brian Keith. This grossed $25.1 million domestically that year, which placed it number 6 in the box office, just behind number 5, The Absent-Minded Professor, and just ahead of La Dolce Vita at number 7. The number 1 movie that year was 101 Dalmatians. Now, we haven't covered that yet on the show. One of these days, I'm sure it'll come up. But we did cover what was number 2 that year, which was West Side Story. That is episode 107. So you had to go back and check that out for us. Our Rotten Tomatoes scores, our critics give The Parent Trap 89%. The audience is down at 75%. So there's something not mixing there. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. Nominated for a couple Academy Awards, nominated for a couple Golden Globes. It found its way onto an AFI list from 2000, the 100 Laughs. Now, this is a movie that I think people know, particularly they know about it because, especially people in our age group, they remember that there was a remake, whether they knew it was a remake or not, starring Lindsay Lohan in the 90s. But I got to start with our guest, Ainsley. What was your background with The Parent Trap, aside from it just being on VHS all the time?
I grew up for the first 14 years of my life with my grandmother, living with her most of the time. And so I just got exposed to a lot of stuff that was sort of before my time. But this was also during a time where I think Disney and some of those legacy channels in media were relying on their earlier successful
That's a good point.
media anyway. And, they still had those being reissued a lot in stores or replaying if you had cable anyway. We didn't have the Disney Channel in my house. And, it was just one of the things that we taped off of my cousin's Disney Channel and then had in my house because, we be scamming and we don't want to pay for that. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And that's what everybody did once in a while. And, or we had, a very small collection of the puffy tapes, which everybody had also. And, you have a few, you never have them all. And then you just watch them over and over again. So the other thing is that my parents were divorced.
Uh-huh.
And so I could watch a movie like this and be like, oh, that's me. No one else was writing stories about my parents.
Yeah, and there's a little clairvoyance even in this movie when you watch it. Let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
I do got to ask though, how many years has it been since you've seen it?
I remember rediscovering it on Hulu at some point, but when I suggested it to you guys, it had been I think at least 3 or 4 years since I had checked in with it.
Rebecca, I want to know your background with this movie.
I had not seen it before. I had seen the 1998 remake with Lindsay Lohan, and I did not know at that time that it was a remake.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I liked that one, and I was hoping for similar results. I was afraid that there would be a huge difference and that I would be disappointed. I guess I'm one of those who typically prefers the newer movies, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I mean, there's got to be some differences. We're not going to talk about the remake in our main body content, but let me just ask you real quick. Now that you've seen both, which one do you prefer?
There's different There's bits and pieces that I like about.
Audience, we love it. Audience, we love a back and forth answer. Okay, fine. I won't press you. I can tell I'm really putting the screws to her, so I won't. Well, here's my background with the movie. I'd never seen it, and I didn't see the one in the 90s either. Thing is,
wait, neither of you had seen the original?
No.
Oh my god!
I'm
so curious then about each of your takes.
Oh yeah. We are going to get into it in quite a bit. I'd never seen it before, but I knew what it was. I knew what parent trapping was, and I knew the idea of how maybe children with separated or divorced parents might feel about what their desire is. And I think this movie here gives us a interesting take, and it gives us several points of view, a lot of story beats. I feel like the movie holds up in terms of sheer wholesomeness. It holds up the way that Christmas movies hold up. Is that what are we here to do? Feel good. And that's kind of what this movie is meant for you to do. And I feel like that will hold up forever. Even if Lindsay Lohan, or in another 5 to 10 years, Disney's going to do it again. We're going to get another Parent Trap, and it's going to make $1 billion. But we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about the 1961 version. But before we do, I'm going to toss over to a quick little message from one of our friends from a different show. And when we come back, Rebecca is going to give a plot summary. You won't want to miss that, and you will want to have watched this movie first. And we'll see you on the other side.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
And we are back. This is your final warning. If you have not seen The Parent Trap since 1961, this is your chance to pause us, go watch that movie, and then come on back, because it's time now for Rebecca to spoil this movie with a plot summary. Take it away.
At a girls' summer camp, two rivals, Sharon McKendrick and Susan Evers, both portrayed by Hayley Mills, meet and immediately clash. What begins as endless pranks and bickering escalates until one final stunt lands them both in isolation, assigned to the same cabin, and even forced to share a secluded dining table as their punishment. As they stew in forced proximity, insults turn into curiosity, and then outright shock. They discover they are identical twins, separated after their divorcee parents split just after their birth. With that bombshell settled, the girls hatch a daring scheme, swap identities, slip into each other's lives, and use their double act to bring their estranged parents back together. Sharon, posing as Susan, arrives in Boston at their mother's elegant home. Susan, as Sharon, takes over life on their father Mitch's California ranch. The twins intervene, they stage the night of their parents' first date, stir up jealousy, and orchestrate moments of connection between Mitch and Maggie, all while keeping Vicky off balance. In the end, trickery gives way to sincerity. Maggie returns to California, revelations happen, and the family reunites, Vicky's camping phobias and temper tantrums sealing her exit. Mitch and Maggie realize they still love each other, and they reunite in a wedding scene that closes the film on a note of hope and cohesion.
There's a lot that happens in this movie. There's a lot. I was surprised when I pulled it up. Once again, first time viewing. This movie is 130 minutes long. That seems out of character for movies of the time, or particularly movies that would have family or kid interests at play. And I think there's a lot to go over with the plot, but I'm going to do that in a moment. I'd like to start with these opening credits really set you up, like this kind of stop motion thing that this is going to be fanciful and fun.
Yes.
And it does it with a cast of children and adults. Our first big act is this summer camp, which is just primarily kid-centric. So I'll start with our guest, Ainsley. How do you like this big act, just several scenes in a row, setting you up the introduction of these two characters from different worlds?
I almost want to touch on what you said first about like the length and the pace of the film, because it almost feels like separate movies. And or it feels like separate acts of a play.
Yes.
I can agree with that.
Because in that respect, it does feel much longer than it is. Especially because there's locations. Like if it were a play, if it were a stage play, Act 1 would be at the summer camp, Act 2 would be in Boston, Act 3 would be in California.
Totally.
That's how the whole movie is set up. And it feels like it could be 3 separate, pieces of a miniseries or acts of a play. They could be separate installments. And when you feel that and when you see that, you're like, wow, that was a very long movie. And then you're like, oh, wait, I don't think it actually was. And yeah, it feels much more dramatic. And you're like, was this a kid's movie?
I think there's enough going on that it keeps your attention. So while it is long, it doesn't necessarily bore you.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot going on. And I guess I'll go ahead. I had actually written all this out. If I really needed to touch on every story beat, it is, right? Camp where they are enemies, then friends, then create the plan. Then there's a hitch in the plan. There's a new woman in Mitch's life. There is no time to develop the problems surrounding a domineering grandma. There's no time for it. Like the writer wanted to. At an hour in, we as an audience are gifted with something. Grandpa's listening in on the call. So now we have some people that are in on it, that they know the jig is up.
Yeah.
Maggie and Real Susie are back in Carmel 5 minutes later. 5 minutes, bam, we're in California.
Yeah.
Then, within 10 minutes of that, Maggie, Maureen O'Hara, is like playing mischievous with the kids. Like this is a pretty quick, like, whoa, fast lane into we're all having fun.
The evolution is very fast at that point.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like what Rebecca says, you're not bored because there is a lot to keep track of. Some things are, the first act, we'll say, of the procedure to get from summer camp is here, while these two look alike, immediately enemies? I guess so. Pranks. Punishment means that they're together right away. Rebecca, you've got kids. This is something where I wanted to jump in and say, were you at all surprised by how quickly isolation in cabin serendipity turned from like, they can't keep the silent treatment up, and there's no way they're going to do that on screen for us as the audience. I think they captured that childlike, well, you're a kid like me and we're going to talk and become best friends right away. I feel like they captured that perfectly.
Yeah, and I feel like the sibling bond started quite quickly. Once it's realized, like, they're like, wait, we're twins. Yeah, I have 2 kids, and I mean, some days they hate each other, and then some days you have to be careful because they're going to plot against you, and they use their... It's a gamble on if they're going to use their forces for good or evil. It's one of those that if the 15-year-old set his trash can on fire today.
Hey.
No.
Hey, that's a great sentence because it could have been a different sentence, which is the 15-year-old set our house on fire.
Well, so smoke detector is going off. His sister's in the kitchen. There are flames in his trash can, and he is still trying to blame his sister, who's in the kitchen cooking.
Where there's no fire.
Where there is absolutely no fire.
Where everything's safe. Yeah, well, I think that's it. Is you notice like children have this like desire to connect, and they do after they get past the "how dare she show up with your face" moment, and after all the pranks, then it becomes like, oh, we have discovered this thing about ourselves. But that's, I mean, hey, we're 30 minutes in. We haven't even reached the parents yet of the titular trap. But we've got plenty more to go. I got to get through it before we can start diving into any of this stuff, right? Is that Maggie's being mischievous with the daughters. Then Dr. Mosby shows up. We got a big set piece with leading this reverend around at an hour 26 in. This is when Disney movies end. At an hour 26 in, we get the reveal. We're both here, and we both want both of our parents. This, I think, is something important to come back to later. It takes 10 more minutes of Maggie, Vicky, and Edna being catty at one another, which is delightful. Just delightful, them digging at one another. Then we have a staple of the time. Well, we can't do this movie until we like fit in a 2.5-minute musical number. Well, let's have one play piano and let's have one play guitar. Okay, so we're going to get to that.
Yes, they released a single.
Of course they did.
Yes.
Of course they did. And it like it's not that they released a single to do it. It like was top 8, top 10.
Yes, it was.
It's the one and only album that Hayley Mills ever put out.
Ever produced.
And it's like a 20-minute album. And it's got the Let's Get Together song is on there. And it's like 1minute 29 seconds.
Yeah, songs were so short. And that's fine, right? Then we have we can't finish without the only source of conflict seemingly from here is that Vicky's here. That's the conflict that's presented. Take a movie from the same year. We can have some pretty big conflicts in Disney movies. Disney's good at this, is creating conflict. Just think of the same year. Cruella de Vil wants to kill all your puppies to make a coat. Whoa, that's a pretty huge deal.
Yes.
Here, our main source of conflict really doesn't show her head until Act 3 here. And so we've got to take the time, quite a long time, to scare her or use the great outdoors to get her out of the way. And then finally, if you look at this movie's description on a streaming service, it calls this a romantic comedy. And we finally get some romance, a great romance scene, I would say, for the last 7 minutes of the movie, which is the shortest scene of all of these things I just mentioned. I got to wipe my brow. That's a lot to cover. And so from all of these things, I think we were talking a little bit about like, all right, the kids get together. There's this summer camp act. This act takes a while. I'll kick it back over to you, Ainsley. There's this prank war between them, or them trying to get at each other. I feel like this probably could be the setting for an entire movie of like camp hijinks.
I mean, any one of these premises, because there's really 3 of them. There's divided up into these different acts: the summer camp, the Boston California switch, and then the rendezvous to California with the plot to get rid of the girlfriend. Each of those could probably flesh out into its own individual story.
Yes.
But mashing them all together into a film, especially when you describe it all together, it sounds like it's too busy. And then you watch it and somehow it works. It seems like a crime that you guys have never seen the original. I've never seen the Lindsay Lohan remake. So I can't honestly say if the remake was done well or if it covered all of those things equally.
I completely agree that what we could have is movie number 1, and then either beginning or maybe end of movie number 1 is where we figure out, wait a second, we're sisters?
Absolutely.
Fade to Black sequel comes in 3 months. We've already made it. Like, we've got you hooked. Now watch the second part. That's the way it seems like this would go. Or it seems like sister reveal would be the end of quote unquote season 2. And then season 3 is, well, now let's see what these two sisters get up to. But I want to ask this question. I feel like this is maybe just a symbol of the times, but children get up to stuff. But I would say that for Act 2 and Act 3, mainly what our kids are doing is trying to pull off this earnest plot to be able to reunite a family so they could have sisterhood and they could have both of their parents. Act 1, Rebecca, I feel like is just, here's a canvas to show that kids are scamps. Right? Like I mean, you talk about your kid setting a trash can on fire, but like this is a playground.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen more of the camp.
Yeah.
And then develop the sisterhood.
Like it almost needed more time. Like the sisterhood is developed in like 3 minutes. Like bam.
Yeah,
Once they're
I feel
stuck.
like they moved on too quickly.
It's not unbelievable considering how children do have this gravity towards one another. You were a child of this time period because of growing up with your grandma, Ainsley. This is where I would say maybe I'll ask you for guidance here. Is this kind of the norm for Disney? Is if you've got kids all together, they're gonna get into hijinks, and it's gonna make the whole family laugh.
Yeah, I think that was especially their shtick during this time period.
Yes.
That was a big foundation of kind of thrusting these storylines forward, was like the basis of hijinks. It reminds me of like Dennis the Menace type type storylines. Was like watch the hijinks entertainment. However, it it kind of morphs into like morals and values, and especially when you get to like what all the counselors just start rattling on about, they really take an awful lot of time in Act 1 of the film harping on the why of like why we're doing this. We're sending you out into this cabin all alone because we really believe in the foundations of blah 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 and the such and such
Right.
and the whatever and the something something, and okay, fine. And it's not just for plot development. I think it's also because Disney felt a lot of responsibility, and they were preaching a lot of morals and repeated foundational stuff in a lot of their media. And
That's true.
I think you saw a lot of repeated foundational stuff in their media that was just kind of the same cookie cutter things over and over. And I think you saw that in Act 1 of the film.
Right. Are you familiar with Gilbert and Sullivan's "Let the punishment fit the crime"? I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. She says that. Yeah, are you familiar with the such and such? And all of the girls look the same in the movie too. Talk about cookie cutter. Like all of the girls in the camp are cookie cutters of each other. So it's not just those two that look like twins. They so they get put in the cabin together. The helpful part of all that is that, like, I think this film was also made during a time where these really outlandish plots were made with like them actually trying to make it seem a little bit realistic. It's not that crazy to think that two girls would get punished by camp counselors being a bit overzealous with punishment and being like, we're going to make you guys be isolated in this cabin together.
Yeah, it's not Freaky Friday magic.
Yes.
Not magic.
Yes.
It's believable what happens here.
Yeah. This is not a magic movie. It's and especially with everything that you hear about crazy stuff with the swapping and whatever happening, like this is a completely realistic storyline. And then when the human aspect comes into it, what they do is completely realistic as well. All they are doing is what two impulsive teenagers would do when they find out that their choices and their autonomy had been taken away. They found out they had an option within the course of their lives that could have been something that it wasn't, and they decided to change it. And they took the course of their own lives into their own hands when most children won't or can't have the opportunity to do that.
I want to talk about this. Is we were talking about this sort of foundational time for Disney movies, is the fun must be had, and you do it and you get away with it or not. A lot of fun is with the potential of getting in trouble. And what we have here is, well, they get caught and they kind of get in trouble. And while they're on punishment, they learn this revelation. I think there's something important about when you say like foundational, what do we have in the first act? You screw around and find out. Is that you get the hijinks, you cut the dress, you kick over the canoe, the bowl of punch hits the thunderhoof guy, and the cake gets stuck on the antler, then falls on her head, and these are all visual gags meant to make you laugh, and like that's the point. But the lesson is still there. You cause problems, you get punished. No Disney executive is going to scoff at that. They're going, yes, we did it. Okay, we at least did that. But now I think where we get to one of the most special things about this movie is this is about what you just described of like two teenagers realizing that unfairly and outside of their control, something about their life drastically has been changed or taken from them. And they're going to hatch a plan to do something about it. I think the idea of children taking control in the family household is something incredibly alluring to a children's audience. Rebecca, are you feeling the same way about this, that like the parent trap, quote unquote, or the idea that like the kids are in control now? I mean, that's what like all of Nickelodeon's marketing in the 90s was about, like the powers with the kids. That isn't new. It's been around for a while.
I feel like it's kind of, I want to say, different for that time period, because my brothers were born in the 70s and they grew up in a time period where it was like kids were supposed to be seen and not heard. Whereas here we've got where the kids are the driving force and the kids are definitely seen and heard.
If you are living in a household where discipline exists, then we know that there's a way you are supposed to act. But maybe this is my own childhood. Maybe I'm just like exposing something about myself, but isn't it true for children and teenagers that the most fun to be had is when you are breaking a rule or when you are kind of flipping expectations on their head? How do you feel about this, Ainsley? I feel like this is the way that Rebecca said this is maybe different or it's new for the time. Do you feel like this is something that's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this dream where like the kids are the one that are in control of this situation? Whoa. I feel like that would have to be a big splash in the landscape.
If we're talking about what the film appeals to and the tone of what the film like is appealing to in its audience, it's that subtlety, because for the time period it wasn't very obvious. We should give attention to children. It was very seen and not heard. So of course, so the message was subtle, a plot line that was giving power to children. And because the audience was all families and all ages, it was about, hey, kids are getting one over on the adults in their lives, and not just their parents, it was everybody. And you sort of highlight that by saying they keep introducing cast members. The further they get into this movie, they keep bringing in more and more and more people, and they keep losing and except unless they join the team.
Right.
And especially like it was remade 20 years later, 30 years later. It appealed to an audience of children that had more independence, but they're still looking for it, even if they have more of it. So it still appeals to them. I still want to control the choices that my parents make for me.
Yeah, they remake this movie 30 years later. But I think, Rebecca, you and I were chatting that they had actually attempted this movie 9 years prior.
There was a movie with basically the same plot line, and it completely flopped.
I think Disney knew they had something, which is why they try it again. And I'm glad they try it again. And I have to think they try it again because of the ability to film Hayley Mills at the same time and present her on screen with herself. I think, Rebecca, you and I were talking about that. It was the timing right because it was able to be so fanciful visually on screen to see these two girls performing with themselves. Maybe 10 years is what it took for the technology to get for it to look natural. I mean, hey, we're not talking CGI here, right? We're not talking about anything digital. We're talking about body double stand-ins and clever film work. I think they nail this. This is another thing that, quote unquote, holds up.
Right. Yeah. It's the concept of the film and the way it was shot. And even because the simplistic methodologies of doing doubling like this still holds up even with other shows like Bewitched. Not all the shots, but a lot of them, because it's simple. But they got it right most of the time. But this movie is a good example of well done, simplistic doubling. And it works really well. And it was, now it's about 60 years ago.
Twice blessed.
I went back through our text messages and I found it.
It might have been lightning in a bottle, right? I mean, not only was she doing a great job on screen, but enough to release a hit single. Yes, that too. Yeah. Now, before we leave Act One, there's something that I wanted to bring up, and I think this kind of speaks a little bit to what you had described earlier, Ainsley, is that you're a child of divorce. My mom has been my only constant throughout my childhood. I went through 2 divorces, and so you had one constant and you had the other guy until she found the right one, and he's dad. But like this summer camp is prank time mostly, but then we get something really heartfelt. And I thought this was interesting, as I would say, and tell me what y'all think about my take on this, but I would say these girls are pretty adjusted, like without meeting each other. They had gotten pretty adjusted to the realities that they do not have a mom or they do not have a dad in their life. Sharon had her grandparents in Boston, and Susie had Verbena and Hecky around. But it's pretty quick that they become vulnerable to one another and describe their own longing for what they believe had been missing in their lives. I don't think this was like too much too fast. I don't think it was jarring. I think it was in a whirlwind of quickly, we don't like each other, now we like each other, now we're sisters, and we have to do this plan. This aspect of, well, we don't have one of the core parents.
Yeah, it felt interesting to like go to school in the 90s and still be a minority of having divorced parents, but then see media that you knew very consciously was 30 plus years old, and it still seemed like an abnormality that your parents were divorced or you had a single parent. And it was like kind of odd to me that so much time had gone by. I didn't really crave my parents to reunite. That I didn't really identify with. And my personal situation was not well adjusted. I agree with you that these characters seemed very well adjusted and adapted well to their situation. But it also seemed very realistic that once they kind of connected all the dots, that they found those kind of empty spaces and said, oh, I want to find out the rest. And that also kind of made sense to me. I could look at that hopefully objectively and say like, yeah, that makes sense to me, that you find out why you seem to have these missing pieces. And I also, as I've grown up, I've found out that it's unfortunately very common for parents to grow up and not inform their children about those missing pieces. So, of course, they were confused. I always thought when I was watching the movie, I was like, how would they grow up and just look at a picture of their missing father for, the first 14 years of their life? Or Sharon comes in and she's like, yeah, there's just a picture of my dad on my mom's dresser. And that's all I know. And I'm like, what do you mean that's all you know? That's crazy. And
it is kind of crazy that it would not have come up.
Right.
Or like that mother or father would have done a perfect job of deflecting for over 10 years.
But that actually happens quite often. I did not experience that personally, but I have talked to others, or I know others in my family, or I'm tangentially related to situations like that. And there's an awful lot of parents that do deflect for decades.
I think the reason that they seem well adjusted is because
it's their norm.
It's their norm, for one. And for two, you've got Verbena and Hecky as one girl's source of stability, which kind of fills in. So it's not necessarily all on the dad.
One person.
And then when you've got the grandparents for the other one, like that's the other one's source of stability,
yes,
in addition to the mom. And so, yeah, that longing might be there, wanting that additional missing piece. They've got additional support people, so it's not just out there on their own.
I think that we've revealed that their time together, while brief, after they become friendly to one another. Here, you want a Fig Newton? Sure. Want to go get a popsicle with me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like after we get to that part, which is sweet, and it's how children are, is very quickly, unlike Rocky, where you learn that Rocky and Adrian fill each other's gaps, their brief interaction turns into, whoa, I'm revealing gaps, and I didn't realize just how bad I wanted this. Mm-hmm. And then that's where the plan starts. I've got to bring something up, and this is not to get too socioeconomic with this, but having money helps.
Oh, yeah, they're both clearly very rich.
Was that something that, like, you had ever picked up on, that, like, boy, things are really easy for both of these families?
Not until I was older.
Aha, yeah.
And I think one of my parents might have pointed it out to me, because both of my parents were very financially conscious in negative ways. And I think it was actually pointed out to me, like, in a very negative way.
I think there's this thing where they were trying to separate the Boston posh versus the California twang.
Yes, exactly.
But they're both incredibly wealthy.
Right. And that's kind of glossed over in the film.
And there's a reason sometimes for that, which I've brought up before, is that the best problems, or the best, like, sources of conflict or emotions, are stories that can be told if you've got no money or all the money.
Right. But then it is brought up as a source of a plot line only as the engagement with the problematic girlfriend, that she may or may not be a gold digger.
Well, let's bring this up, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, Rebecca, is that we have our main source of conflict for the movie is Vicky exists. It's the only thing putting a timer on this. If Vicky doesn't get her hooks into Mitch, then there's no timer on this at all.
Right,
and
they've got all the time in the world.
Could have happened. Instead, the plan is kind of blown up right away because she exists. You've got to get Mother out here now. And I feel like this movie kind of nailed it with, well, what's the way that you can make her bad? Because you've got to try. It's the only thing getting in the way. You feel like they succeeded with this, Rebecca?
I think they did, with the way that she's made the comments that, she's going to send them to boarding school.
I think that was very important, yeah.
I think she totally owns the future stepmom that you love to hate role.
An important trope.
And I feel like that trope has, like, carried on. So in our personal life, like, I'm the stepmom. When I came into the picture, I was not liked. Like, they always wanted a mom, but they didn't like me because I was taking the attention away from dad. Now that they've seen, that I've helped with all of these things and everything else, we're on much better terms. But I think the difference with Vicky is Vicky has, made the comments about the money, and she's made the comments about sending them to boarding school. And she's made it quite obvious that she doesn't like the twins.
I mean, it's how long does she know about twins? Not very long. It just doesn't like.
It's just the one initially, but I don't necessarily think she wanted even the one.
Right.
She made that apparent.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder. I mean, we know that this happened pretty suddenly while she was at camp. Camp couldn't have been longer than 90 days. I don't know. Is it meant to show that, like, the woman that moves fast is also problematic? I mean, it's hard to say. I think they succeed in making her, like, the quote unquote villain. Having Edna as a crony kind of helped here. Do you feel like this Act 2 into Act 3 situation of Vicky and Edna being our foils for what we're rooting for is put together well for you?
Yeah, bringing her mother into the situation makes it a lot more intense. There's a couple of issues with because I think her character, Vicky's character overall is done very well. The only issue is that they left in too many references to her being young. That actress doesn't look young.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't look young enough. That doesn't mean she's bad for the part. She's hateful, and she and you don't like her, which is exactly what you want. They just left in too many references to her looking really young or a lot younger than him. And if that was the point, then they cast the wrong person. But other than that, she's very good, and she is very unlikable. Her mother's even more unlikable and talks even more crap about not just the girls, but everybody. And I wonder if there were previous versions of the script or the story that maybe didn't have the mother, or if they wrote her in like either nicer version or made her worse, because she's like the worst. She sucks. And,
so bringing up the age difference thing.
Yeah,
like they reference the fact that she was young a lot, but if I'm not mistaken, like at one point they actually say how old she is, and I think it's only like a 10 or 14 year age gap, maybe.
Yeah.
And that might have been a bigger deal in that time, but I honestly don't feel like that's a terrible age gap.
I don't know.
No, I think it's you have to build this villainy in a way that isn't trying to kill the dogs. And so the villainy is, and these are tropes that have existed for a while, and in fact came to a head with I'm not going to say a successful movie, but a movie that kind of is the figurehead for it. Is, you guys remember The First Wives Club?
Yeah.
Is that there's been a thing about society in the United States forever, which is the idea that, like, all right, your first wife, and then the husband, the ex-husband, quote unquote, upgrades to a younger, newer model. That's been around forever, I think. Mm-hmm. And so that is also, it very much ties into the all men are dogs. Mm-hmm. I don't think, I mean, do you guys feel as if Mitch is tagged with, marked with, well, how dare he even invite her over? I mean, he's just a man. But what do you think about this? I think we look at Vicky as bad, but Mitch isn't bad for being interested in Vicky. Is that accurate?
That's why this is the details that are written in the script is why your question is so hard to answer.
Yeah.
Because basically I don't believe the details in the script about her age because of how they made this actress look. I disbelieve the details about her, the comments about her age in the script because of how she visually looks. I almost feel like somebody forgot to rewrite it. I feel like they cast her and somebody forgot to rewrite the lines. He gives me this vibe of like being kind of disgusted and disinterested in her the whole time. And it doesn't really take much for him to be like, yeah, you're walking off the mountain. Okay, bye. See you never.
Right.
To be, well, at the same time, that's admirable in the sense of like, oh, you hate my kids? Okay, well, okay, shut up. Bye. Don't call me. And that's good. So, but
we needed her outburst.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that really, nail in the coffin here. And I think it was important to do so. But, I like the idea that you're bringing up the idea that, like, I don't believe this script. I think that's a smart thing to say. It's like, that must not have been the thing. But what we do know from our audience perspective is Vicky could be on the evil scale a 1 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. It doesn't matter how bad she is. She's just automatically, by being present, an obstacle to the goal of what we're rooting for.
Right. The girls would hate her anyway.
Yeah, especially considering that, she really dislikes the thing that Mitch likes the most, which is like being an outdoorsman kind of thing, and has kind of brought Susie up to be as well.
Or you could argue that it's his own children. She hates that he likes his children more than her. And that's actually more of maybe a depressing topic. This is maybe an overarching issue of like secondary partners that come into people's lives who have children. Partners might not understand that people need to put their children first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a unique idea. I was that child. That's another thing. Like sometimes your parents date people who don't really like you, and that's a real thing. So Vicky is a real person. Vicky's a real person out in the world.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing her she's an exaggeration. Obviously, she's an exaggeration. Like I never met her. I never met a Vicky in my life. But also nobody was trying to gold dig my parents, but also I never met her. So I never had to face her, but there are people like her that exist in the world. And there are people who date people with children who say, why are you giving your kids so much attention instead of me?
Because they're my entire world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll get that answer and they'll still question you. They'll still say, that's ridiculous. I'm your world now.
Mm-hmm. You're so right. Is that the Vickies exist? They out there. And we are rooting for them, for Mitch to see it. Mm-hmm. I feel as if we have to at least talk a little bit about the end of the plan, or the steps to the plan, Vicky notwithstanding, is the special dinner to try to get them to rekindle, the having just absolute like bombshell mode for Maggie to show back up in Carmel looking just splendid. And then we have the zag. I certainly, as a first-time viewer, wasn't expecting, wait, she's not going to go on the trip? And then we're rewarded with what I think is an incredibly touching scene, and while still being comical, of their last sort of romance scene. So Rebecca, take the lead on this. As the plan comes together, but put together how you feel. Are you relieved, like, oh, we made it, thank goodness, or had you been tense, being like, is this gonna happen?
I felt like in a way it was kind of predictable that it was gonna happen because it was set up to be a feel-good movie.
Does anybody go and see The Parent Trap thinking that it won't work? In today's if we made this movie today,
maybe,
then totally, right?
Yeah, right.
Talk about 1961, right? Nobody's thinking we're going to go through this fun romp for 2 hours and 10 minutes, and they're not going to end up doing it. Now, I think what's really important about this is during the steps of the plan, we are shown that these two sometimes don't mix. It's that dinner that shows that there were problems before. Ainsley, do you feel like this was something like there wasn't supposed to be a mystery as to why they separated, right? It's not like one of them got on the wrong train and then they just never found a way back to the same city. No, they separated for a reason. Do you feel like this movie gives that enough attention?
Yeah, it does. I think it's one of the few films that kind of doesn't lean into that like ambiguous romantic like question mark. It gives you a big answer to, like, it makes it realistic. It's like, oh, we've had fights. Oh, we fought a lot, and we did this very purposefully. And actually, I think that's also very clear early on, and that's why the girls are mad. They're mad because this was done on purpose. And that's reiterated at that dinner at the end, where the two of them are discussing the decision that they made and kind of why they made it. We did this on purpose because you make me so angry, and we thought it would be better. And what if it's not? What if I like you and I want to try harder?
What an important statement to make. You are probably familiar with the phrase trying times.
Yes.
Is that comes from marriage, doesn't come from economics. It comes from marriage. Is that this is the time that things are going to get hard. It gets hard every time for everyone ever. And what decides whether you stay together or not is how hard one or both parties try. Mm-hmm. And if it's not matched, or if it's not both sides trying, it's one side trying or neither side's trying, it is doomed to end. But that doom word has the bad connotation, is that if it's supposed to end, then it should. In this instance, we have the children realizing maybe it wasn't supposed to end. But that is just fantasy and hope at first.
Yep.
These children do not realize that sometimes parents just don't make it. What I think that I have it written down here. They must have quarreled and parted, and then bisected us. Why do you suppose they separated? I can't imagine anyone not loving Mother. She's absolutely divine. Mm-hmm. Well, what about Dad? He's a sensational person, as a friend and all. Of course, the kids don't know about the problems that adult relationships face. And I think it was mature for this movie to show us, boy, pretty quickly they're at each other's throats.
Yep.
Or punching each other.
So do you think these two were actually do you think they should have rekindled? And there had been physical violence in the past, but she punches him in the eye, and he later goes on to say, you can sock me or sock me in the eye or whatever anytime you want. That's the guy, just in my opinion, just kind of going, okay, I'm just gonna take a step back and shrink myself to fit something. Do you think they're doing it just so the girls can be together, or do you think it's something where they should rekindle?
That's a good question. I've got my answer. I'll toss it over to you, Ainsley.
It was one of the only times that I saw violence in that genre in the 60s. There's not a lot of times that in those kind of retro both movies and television that you see out and out violence, and actually a lot of times when it comes up, it's defended as not appropriate especially in spousal relationships. Yes. So I always kind of shrugged it off and thought it was a sarcastic comment.
Let me give you my answer. My answer is bifurcated here. My first answer is, should they belong together? Yes. My second answer is, are they doing it just for the kids? No. I think they still love each other. Third, about the physical violence. What Walt Disney should have done was, whoops, accidentally I'm holding this big mallet like I'm at the fair, and I bonk my ex-husband and he falls into a lake. That's the gag. It's supposed to be funny. They were not thinking about the serious issues that have to do with spousal abuse or domestic violence. And you might say, this is one of the things that really doesn't hold up, because somebody should have said, maybe we don't do that. We can have Lucy bonk Ricky with a, rolling pin. We can do that for the gag. It's a gag. We could have somebody kick someone in the bottom and they fall into the sand trap at the golf course. That can happen. Or we can have a cake fall on a head, or a coconut knocks you and then you see birds. I believe that was the intention. I would say the same way that someone forgot to remove the age stuff about Vicky, that someone in the room should have said, are we sure we want to do this thing where she punches him and they bring it up again? I think that probably should have been cut. Now that I've said all that, do you guys feel as if maybe that's the mission, or am I just trying to do the gloss over it thing?
I think it was likely excused because I think it was genuinely written in as a joke. And then I think anyone who brought up concern about it was probably shushed away. And it was excused by saying that it was fine that a woman hits a man. Mm-hmm. And possibly that him excusing it away at the end was fine because it was like clearly done as a sarcastic comment.
Yeah.
Because that was their intention and that's kind of what they banked on at the time. I don't think that they wanted to do the work of objectivity to be like, maybe this happens in real life and maybe we shouldn't depict that. I think that's just the reality of how it was written, given the people that wrote it in 1961.
Because I know, like, in modern times, like, there's so many couples that shouldn't still be together because they're toxic together, but they say, oh, well, we're staying together for the kids, or, we're trying to make it work for the kids. When in reality, they're doing more damage to the kids because the kids are witnessing everything.
I think that stance is, I would agree with Ainsley in the way that she said, like, hey, you're valid for bringing that up from a modern perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think what this does is, this is an easier stance to take if you remove their love scene at the end. That is a love scene. That whole scene is not about children. That scene is about what we love about one another. What did you think about that scene, Rebecca? About, hey, we're finally getting a chance. It's not at this like kitschy dinner where one's playing guitar and the other one's on piano and they're pretending they're back in the Italian restaurant with Hecky playing 3 strings on a violin, which I laughed out loud at. That was pretty funny. Is now we have some real emotion and some real longing and some real regret. 14 years of regret. And I mean, I feel as if that is front and center explaining to us, it's not just about the kids here. It's about how you and I actually feel about each other.
I enjoyed the scene, but at the same time, with everything else that we were set up with, I look at it as, okay, is it genuine regret and we should have done this sooner? Or is it another honeymoon phase of, okay, well, we haven't seen each other in 14 years. And these are all the great things that I remember about you and the great things that we shared and how I felt then. But then things can quickly go downhill again.
Yeah, I think if we were looking at it from that perspective of like, if they were a realistic couple, I think this is like big potential for
another huge problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think if we were looking at them as a real life couple, this could be the beginning of another explosion.
Yes.
Considering that, they haven't seen each other in a long time. And now all of a sudden she just broke up his engagement and is going to, move in with him. And their 2 children that previously didn't know each other are going to be best buddies now. What? If I saw that on Facebook, I'd be like, I don't think so. I give it like 6 weeks. That would be my next thought. But yeah, as far as like a rom-com is concerned, I'd be like, oh, cute.
Like movie magic wise, yes, but like
yes.
Well, I think that's it. Is who produced this movie? This is Walt Disney. They're not talking about like, yeah, Dumbo wouldn't have lived past 6 months. No, it's fanciful. That's what it is. And I'd love to get more as to like what this movie's trying to accomplish, but I want to talk about it in our superlative section. You two ready?
Absolutely.
Ainsley, you are a guest. I'm going to start with you. Who's the MVP of this movie?
Like, other than Hayley Mills, because Hayley Mills does all the heavy lifting in this movie, it's Verbena, her housekeeper. So other than Hayley Mills, Una Merkel as Verbena, her housekeeper, is like, there are so many people in this film and there are so many people that are standout character actors. You will see them all over, not just 60s movies, but 50s, 60s, 70s movies right up until the 90s. But, and many of them are very recognizable, but she is a standout that does very well throughout the whole film. And you believe her the whole time.
A great character, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was important that you said, well, aside from Hayley Mills, who did this kind of monumentous feat for the time, I think that's smart. Rebecca, MVP.
I've got to give my MVP to Susan Henning. she was Haley Mills's body double. Like, she's literally half the movie and never even got billed for it.
True.
Like, every over-the-shoulder shot, every mirror gag, it's just crazy to me that, you know, she was severely undercredited for that.
True. I don't know why. I don't know why she wouldn't show up in the credits for that.
I don't either. But sometimes it's up to us, isn't it, Rebecca? Sometimes it's up to us to give that credit. So say the name again, because I forgot it already.
Susan Henning.
Susan Henning, thank you. My MVP is Maureen O'Hara. I think her performance is fun. I think she's got a pretty major character change after the manipulation of her father. Like,
absolutely.
Is that what you're going to wear out there? Is that going from like stuck-up Boston prude, which is very poorly, I think, constructed at first, to fun mom was great. Mm-hmm. So frantic and fun in the Carmel act. I thought that was great. But mainly I chose her because I knew Haley Mills would be brought up somewhere else. What's our best supporting actor, Ainsley?
I think that's where I'm going to highlight Maureen O'Hara.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, is so like elegant and sleek, but yeah, does her job with all of the comedy in exactly the way she needs to. Very subtle, very funny, and does her transformative journey so carefully throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, a joy to see on screen. Yeah. Rebecca, your best supporting.
Leo G. Carroll as Reverend Dr. Mosby.
He's funny.
100% steals the scene without even trying.
He's so funny.
He comes in with that calm, authoritative presence, and then everyone else is scrambling. Like, his timing is impeccable. The polite confusion, the well-meaning awkwardness, like, it's just... It makes the entire wedding conversation 10 times funnier. And, you know, he doesn't get a ton of screen time, but when he's there, like, you can't miss him.
Yes, I think he's so important to those scenes. The idea that they ask him, like, oh, yeah, I can have a toast.
I can have a
double
drink.
Bourbon.
Yeah.
Double bourbon on the rocks.
Double bourbon.
All right. Yeah, whatever you say, Father. My best supporting is actually Brian Keith as Mitch. I looked at him and I said, you are a Western leading man. And he's done some Westerns, but really he was really much more well known for like suspense and thriller.
Yes, he was.
And I thought that was like, oh man, if I've definitely done some, like with our movies from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, said, you know, if I just had more time, I'd probably like dive deeper on these. But Brian Keith is not a name I'll forget. I thought that his performance, you have to be convincing as the California cowboy, and then you also have to be a fun dad. And I think he was both. So good job, Brian Keith. Mm-hmm. What is your hidden gem of this movie, Ainsley?
See, Nancy Culp is an amazing character actress, and you can find her all over the like the 50s, 60s, 70s, and she makes an appearance in the camp as a counselor. And
Miss Gruneker.
Yeah, that's right. And I think she's the little hidden gem in the film, and she like makes an appearance with Miss Inch, who is also kind of a little hidden gem. That's Ruth McDevitt, and the two of them together are really great character actresses that float around that genre.
It's hard to do any scene with just children, so having whether they're hapless or whether they're in control, having the adults in that camp scene, it's important to see. Rebecca, what's your hidden gem here?
The way the split screens scenes were done with the matte shots and body doubles, like there's no CGI. It's all just camera work. And there's even a moment where both twins grab the same object from opposite sides. And I feel like technology has made us numb to how cool that really was.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. That's a cool way of putting that. Is that technology has made it numb to how movie magic used to be effort. It used to be creativity, not computer. My hidden gem, it was already brought up, actually. It was Una Merkel. I thought that the Verbena character was just too funny. I think her role really was like a welcome particular type of flavor. It helped frame our bad guy. Well, I don't say a word. Like the idea,
yes.
this well, I don't. I mean, I just stay in my lane. I don't say a word. It is, and it's repeated a couple times. And I think it's just like, we needed you. Thank you that you're here, and it's nice to see our little team of Confederates within like what the plan is. Very clearly, she knew like, oh yeah, this was something we didn't bring up before, is that there are people that knew they should have stayed together and they just didn't try hard enough back then, or they let one problem become too big or whatever. There are people that were always in their corner and had clearly not been in favor of them splitting. Okay, this is a tough one. Recast someone, Ainsley. Who are you recasting in this movie?
It's funny that you liked Bryan Keith, because I don't think he's the strongest in this role. I would recast him, but I'm not 100% sure with who. I'm a big fan of Dick Van Dyke, but I don't know. I think he would pull off this role really well, but he's not like your classic like California cowboy. But he is a very likable dad-like character, especially during this time period. So I think I would take a chance with Dick Van Dyke playing this role.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I like Bryan Keith doesn't mean you have to love Bryan Keith. Hey.
No, that's the thing. He does do a very good job, but he's like a little too rough around the edges. Like Dick Van Dyke gives a much more like warm persona. I think I would love to see that.
Now that is no doubt. Rebecca, who's your recast?
Are you strapped in?
I'm buckled up.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't like throw tomatoes at me or anything. I would love to see what Lucille Ball could have done as Maggie.
Yeah.
Woo! No, big fan. Big fan.
I love really Lucille Ball, and I think while Maureen O'Hara was great, I just think Lucy could have taken it up just a notch.
Yeah. I stand Lucy hard, so I will always support a Lucy recast.
It's an incredible choice. I actually mentioned Lucy and Ricky earlier, and I kind of believe that Maureen O'Hara and Lucille Ball kind of share a tad bit of resemblance.
Totally.
But the only issue I have with that, Rebecca, is that if you were gonna have Lucille Ball in a role, how do I turn my brain off from not having Ricky Ricardo? Like, how do I not have that? I don't know. And then we could have, Fred and Ethel show up too. I was a Nick at Night kid. I loved that.
Same.
Still do.
Same. Yeah.
I love Lucy and the monsters and all the black and whites.
That's the only bad thing about being tied to an iconic character, is it's hard to shed it. And she absolutely would have been really great in this role. And her age really isn't an issue. Lucille Ball never really looked her age. She was 40 when they began the I Love Lucy series. But that would have been a great option for her to be this role. But Maureen O'Hara was probably just a very good fit against Bryan Keith in particular. They really did look beautiful in this film.
Well, a great choice, Rebecca. My recast here is our Vicky, and I decided to go with Brigitte Bardot here.
Ooh,
nothing against Joanna Barnes.
Yes,
is that weird thing about the age? We already talked about it, right? Brigitte Bardot had this weird otherworldly kind of beauty, I think. Didn't like I don't, her hair being up would be strange. Like there's an amount of beauty sometimes that's almost alien. And strangely enough, I think the way that it's written, Brigitte Bardot would have been 26 here, which maybe is perfect, or maybe it's too old for what they tried to write. It's hard to know. but I was just looking for like some kind of, femme fatale bombshell style of model actress to fit that limited role. I don't know if she has the comedy like chops, but that's okay. This is just a game. But yeah, I thought it was, we had talked about like how our Vicky character, like, does she fit that too young? Well, maybe that's what I leaned towards is, well, let me find somebody that does.
Yes.
Ainsley, what is the best shot of this movie?
Oh, I think I only noticed it recently. I didn't pick up on this when I was a kid. It's some of these repetitive shots of the two of them together. And I think it's these like split screen opportunities where they in the woods when they get right after they get Vicky, where she's running away and they're very satisfied with themselves. But there's similar shots when they're in the water back at the beginning of the film, swimming, but they're separate and they're not split screen. I'm unsure if it's on purpose, but it almost seems like Kubrickian in the way that they kind of echo each other. They're separate at first and then they're together later.
And like the shot has purpose beyond just what you see visually.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm projecting meaning onto that, but I think it's just. But I like the ones that come later, though, that are of them just kind of enjoying like their defeat of Vicky in the woods.
Yes, I have to say, you just mentioned something where you said like, I don't know if I'm like projecting purpose or something
Yes.
like that. That is my favorite version of the show is, let's take this kids/family movie and really dive deep into like our emotional struggle and trying to figure out our stance on divorce in 1961 and whether or not
it's about really... my parents' divorce.
I'm here. This is actually me. Like the idea, like this is a therapy couch.
Yes.
The people that are listening to this audience, we love you. You didn't tune in for us to say, well, the guitar scene was fun. No, we're going to do something wild and we're going to veer off.
We're going to tell you all of our drama. We're going to share all of our trauma with you.
I didn't even get to mine. I'm glad. This is the best. Well, what is your best shot here, Rebecca?
My pick is the hiking scene. The moment the twins use the honey and the string to prank Vicky. It's such a smart visual nod to how it all started back at camp, kind of bringing the story full circle. And you can tell that David Swift knew exactly what he was doing with it. It's the same mischief, but now it's teamwork instead of rivalry.
That's, oh my gosh, you had the perfect answer. Black bears.
Was that too deep?
That was good. That was good. All right, so let me follow it with mine. My best shot is Grandpa on the phone, looking left and looking right as if he's listening or watching two people have an argument, except for that he's just listening to the phone.
Yes.
This was a decision to have Grandpa look left and right like you're going like verbal sparring, but they're not there. So it's just like, this will be funny. And it was. I thought he did a good job.
My question was, how long was it going to take for someone to figure out their plan or to figure out something was going on, considering it is 3 a.m. and they are yelling?
Yeah.
Well, aside
there is no whisper involved.
Aside from that, we don't have any dangerous stakes for them being found out.
Other than someone getting mad at them.
Which is a pretty big deal to children.
Yeah, generally, yes.
Right? But what we learn immediately upon the Sharon revealed is actually Susie is, oh my God, I love you. Let's all hug.
Right.
There was no, oh darn, these kids got us, which has got to be a positive message. But I actually, this was going to be one of the avenues I decided to take was, would you have wanted to be harder to keep up the ruse a la White Chicks? Like, did it need to be difficult to stay hidden? And that's when you kind of realize, whether it's movie magic or not, that it wasn't. Now, we did have some tells, right? What's the name of our dog? That dog knows it's not you.
Right.
Verbena.
Yeah, the dog.
It is noticing that, like, you're different. You used to confide in me. Grandma is just mad that she cut her hair, right? But other parents are tricked. Like this, there was a whole avenue to go down, I think, with that. But yeah, when you're yelling at 3 a.m., maybe you don't need to have the other phone receiver up to your ear.
Yeah, there's the unrealistic portions of the film are the fact that they didn't consider that anyone would find out, that they would be perfect at their plan, and that there would be any science-y type tells, like a dog, that would run up to them and be like, "You're a stranger." And that was the case, is that they had kind of some major hiccups, but no one that would out them, because all the people that knew immediately, except for the dog, were willing to keep the secret because they knew the history. And those people were Verbena, the grandfather, and maybe Hecky. He never really admits it, but Verbena says from the very beginning, like, "You're not the same person." And the grandfather more or less admits it, but says, like, "Yeah, I'm willing to keep this secret for you."
Yeah. What is your best scene, Ainsley?
For a few different reasons, I like when the grandfather kind of finds her in the middle of the night after the phone call and confronts her. That's nice.
It's what we want from our grandparents, is no matter what the message is you kind of know by looking at their face. And I think this is done really well, that like, yeah, but everything's okay because I'm here.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, I got your back no matter what.
Well, I liked that, like, even at the table when they were sitting there talking about things, he was like trying to encourage her to keep talking and encourage her to say what maybe she didn't have the guts to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of is the catalyst, like, now, go do this now.
Yeah.
Look, what is your best scene, Rebecca?
Mine is going to be the wedding talk scene with Reverend Dr. Mosby. It's probably one of the funniest in the movie. Everyone's pretending everything is fine while absolutely nothing is fine. The subtle sabotage, like, it makes you cringe and laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of visual gags there too, like falling over the chair, and then like where they're on the couch and she's in the robe and they're basically laying on top of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how risque. It's not like what it looks. I think Dr. Mosby like doesn't care. He's like, that's fine.
He's like, I'm here for the tea.
Yeah, sure thing. My best scene is that last dinner together and their confession about what they want and how they've made a mistake. And I think this could have been, I don't know, developed more or seen more throughout the movie. Maybe we could have learned more about what, how they actually felt about one another before 2 minutes before 2 hours and 3 minutes into the movie. But it's okay that we were left without. This was about the kids' mission, not about them getting back together, but them confessing what it is about them that they miss. I thought that was, especially from Mitch's side, I thought that was nice. That was charming. I didn't even need the dream about the wedding or whatever that was. I just felt as if like this did its part.
Yes, I think that's maybe the only part that doesn't gel for me, is that really rapid, kind of hokey dream sequence at the end.
Yeah.
That feels kind of rushed, and we're unsure if it's real or not. It's because, is it a dream sequence? Is it a fantasy? Or is it a fast-forwarded real account? We're not really sure. And it is very old Disney. I think we could do without that. That's probably the only thing we could do without.
I agree with you here, but also like, or is it tying back to the weird thing that was brought up in Cabin Serendipity, where Sharon says, "My mom always says I'm psychic," and it's supposed to be calling back to what, a premonition about a wedding? We don't need it.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, best wardrobe moment or best makeup moment, Ainsley?
Oh, I love the wardrobe jobs that are done during that little semi-formal dance in the camp. And they do a great little gag with the dress tucked into the underwear, and where they want to embarrass one of the girls, and then that kind of instigates the food fight. Well, it's not a food fight. They push her into the table, and
they fight.
So, yeah, I mean they're fighting, but it's like it eventually ends with food. And you mentioned the cake on the thing earlier, but that's also a great cinematic like sequence, because how complicated is that? It puts a bunch of you've got a sequence with a bunch of flying cakes and flying liquid. It's really fun. And all the like hokey little tuxes on the young boys.
Yeah, all the boys are wearing like suits that don't fit them, because it's hard to get suits to fit regular size guys, but for kids, like everything's too long. Like, it's
and the girls too have all these silly ruffles, but when they they prank one of the other girls, it's like it all involves the clothes, and that's that's a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, it was. Well, it also seems like this dance, none of them were expecting it.
Yeah.
And it also seems like, how on earth would any of them be prepared?
That's a really good point.
That was my question. I was like, how do y'all have dresses
semi-formal wear?
Right.
When y'all were going to summer camp.
Yep.
Maybe they had enough time between when the dance was introduced that like, okay, we've actually already contacted your parents and they have sent us all of your clothes. I mean, this is a very long summer camp. That maybe there was time. Rebecca, what is your best wardrobe or makeup moment?
Mitch walks into the bathroom and the bra is hanging there on the shower.
Yeah.
To him, he's not quite sure whose bra it is.
He's truly puzzled.
And you've got her walking around in the robe.
The clues are being left for us. It's I've brought this up before, is the idea that like audience is kind of like, oh, you're so close, and that tension of like not quite getting it yet or being slight out of reach is that's a fun part of the ride. Mine is Maggie's teal blouse, blue skirt, and dishcloth apron that essentially turns Mitch into like a cartoon wolf who like remembered, oh, that's what I used to have.
Women exist? Yeah, that's an amazing outfit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and she's got many amazing outfits.
True.
And she's got an outfit that her dad clowns her for wearing.
Yep.
But that one, I mean, and it's something about like, I mean, she even mentions like, oh, I'm in bare feet. I like in bare feet. Like, puts a woman at a disadvantage. Well, here's the disadvantages. Like, there's something about like maybe he's seeing her reaching for the plates is about, that's my wife there. That's not my ex-wife. That's my wife. That's what I remember. It seems romantic in both senses. Mm-hmm. And so that's I understand why. So that's my choice. Mm-hmm. Okay, a couple left here. Ainsley, you got to change one thing. Maybe it's what we just talked about with that dream sequence. But what's your change one thing option?
I have beef with their tax bracket. Maybe I have beef with their tax bracket, and bringing them to a more like realistic level of existing would maybe that's the only problem that I have with the plot, is that this is all a little too easy and simplistic when they seem to have unlimited means.
You're right on the money with that. You're right. Rebecca, what is your change one thing?
So I talked to you about this previously, Dustin. Like in the 1998 version, there's a distinct difference in the accents. It's very obvious which twin is which. Even Susan Henning and Haley Mills both say in this one that sometimes they even forgot which one they were playing. I got confused at who we were looking at. I don't think there was enough differentiation in the accents to give a clear definition as to which one was which at any given moment. I would like there to be a vocal distinction like we had in the 1998 version.
I don't think anyone would disagree with you that their accents kind of slip together, or that if we're going to go over the top with anything, have them be as crazily different as they can.
Right.
So that it's just obvious, especially for children. It seems like that could have been accomplished well. I understand. My change one thing is that They attempted too many things in one movie. Movie's good, but too long. It's too long. I think the things they wanted to cover are actually appropriate. It takes too long to get to all of them. And I think the fun romp you want with this situation could be just as fun in an hour 42. Mm-hmm. That's just me being an old man. Ainsley, what's your best quote here?
Rebecca mentioned it earlier. I don't think it's going to be anything other than she stole your face. She came here with your face. How dare she? How dare she come here with your face?
It's pretty good. I wrote that one down too. All right, that's your option. Yeah. Rebecca, what's yours?
That's mine too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since you guys both picked the same one, that frees me up to cheat. I get to do two. So one of them is, I don't say a word.
I'll say a word.
It's so funny. The other one is, well, nothing's any good without you, Maggie. I miss a lot of things. Guess I just miss you. You know, we're going to grow up into a couple of old, lonely people if we don't do something about it. I thought that was pretty heartfelt because Mitch didn't get it. Then Mitch got it. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we aren't going to get to our ratings just yet. We want to give Ainsley an opportunity to plug some of her efforts. Here's your chance.
Well, I am plagued with the curse of doing too many things. So I usually just tell people to go to my website, which is AinsleyCaswell.com. If you Google my name or go directly there, you will find all of my projects. But in particular, I have been relaunching my brand Aqua Carta, and I am focusing on my black and white photo art and my textile designs that I am putting on various types of clothing and accessories.
Aqua Carta, AinsleyCaswell.com. Check it out. It is time for us to get to our rating system. It is out of 5 stars. You can give half stars if you'd like. 5 being the highest, 0.5 being the lowest. I'd like to start with our guest. How do you rate The Parent Trap?
I am going to give it a 4.2.
Oh my gosh. I said you can do half stars and you gave me a fifth of a star.
I broke your rules.
Come on. All right.
Okay.
Well, it'll officially be in the log of the show.
No. I'm going to round down to a 4.
Gosh, I didn't even have to try that hard. Hey, it's a 4.2 in spirit.
Okay.
But rounded down to a 4.
Yeah.
Rebecca, where are you falling with this?
I'm also giving it a 4.
I thought you were about to say, I'm also giving it a 4.2.
No. I think it was done well. I did enjoy it, but it's not quite a 5-star.
Not quite a 5-star sums it up for me. Similarly, I fall at 3.5. I believe that I was leaning towards 3, but I found a lot of charm. I found the performance of Haley Mills. I found the goal of what a Walt Disney film is attempting to do met. I felt like the lessons of, well, not just of the time, but also this sort of everlasting trope of children trying to get one over on the parents, but not really fully understanding how just like they're gonna try something. And then this movie, I think, did a good job of showing us the mature part, the side part of it, the parents' side part of it. And so I think it would have been 3, but I'm going to bump it up to 3.5 for that reason. But overall, not so bad. I think, what did our audience score at? 75% is on our Rotten Tomatoes. So we fall somewhere around there. And ordinarily, audience, this is where I would ask Rebecca for help for picking something for next week. However, you guys are in for a special treat. It's October recording time, which means soon we will be recording our top 10 movies of 2015 show, right in time for Thanksgiving. So all of us hosts, we're going to get on and say, from 2015, here was our top 10 from 10 years ago. We go back over the news stories. We go back over the music hits. It's a fun 2-hour show, and you get to hear from all of us. No new movie covered. It's mainly just, let's talk about what 10 years ago was. And before we reach our outro, Ainsley, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I was so happy to be here.
A good choice. I think we had fun with the show. Rebecca, thank you once again.
As always, it's fun.
And thank you, all the lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and review us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, or wherever you get your shows. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at movie_retro. Email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. Hey, providing and producing this podcast is fun, but not free. We invite you to support the show at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/retromovieroundtable. Any contribution is much appreciated and will go towards making the show better for you, the listeners. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Rebecca?
I just wanted to sing Seal with my family like normal people.